Have you ever had a pressing matter, such as the state of the environment, knowing your rights as a citizen, government policy, or even public security? The Access to Information Act is a medium given by the government to answer these questions. In this documentary, we look at how and why it was implemented, the challenges in accessing information, examples of those who uses it, and how the regular citizen can gain access to the Act. With that said, let's begin.
The Access to Information Act has existed from 1766 when Sweden created their Freedom of the Press Act. The Act allows citizens access to government documents. At present, there are over 60 countries in the world that have implemented the Act, and Jamaica is one of these countries. The Act was drafted in 2002 but was not implemented until 2003, as its main purpose is to make the government accountable to its citizens. The Access to Information Act is a legislation enacted by the government of Jamaica to grant the rights to access the records in the custody of government ministries, agencies, departments, and public bodies to groups, organizations, and the ordinary Jamaican citizen. It allows for some form of transparency, and it promotes public participation in national decision making.
There are quite a few users of the Act, ranging from environmentalists, human rights activists, and journalists. Today, we spoke to Mr. Vernon Davidson, Chief Executive Editor of Publications for the Jamaica Observer. How important is the Access to Information Act to journalists in gathering and releasing news?
Extremely important, because from the Act allows us to get what was once classified information, information that even if we were to be granted access would take an extremely long time to get. It works in most instances, it doesn't in some. We have one case now with the NHD that has been running for about 4 months since we asked for the information. It's a lot of information, I admit, and they are working on it, but it's taking a bit of time, so sometimes it frustrates you. The Act makes provision for some things cannot be revealed, like matters that are in court, or information having to do with contracts that maybe the information might be detrimental to people's freedoms or their safety. We have to respect that. So the information that you can't get, you just can't get. I mean, we can challenge. We can always challenge. There's a provision there to challenge the absence of information, and they have systems to deal with that challenge. If you feel that you should get information on somebody, because people can use that aspect of the Act to hide information, and so there's an appeal process which will go to a higher body, and they'll decide whether the information is being withheld deliberately, or it is correct for them to withhold the information.
Just reversing right back to the previous one where you said that you can go to the higher authorities to see whether or not this story is being withheld. Would you consider it as an agenda?
No, I wouldn't say agenda. You have overzealous people in every institution. Some people might want to protect information that they think that the public shouldn't have, or journalists shouldn't have. We'll always have those sort of people. So even if it's information that we should be getting, there might be somebody there who say, well, I'm not going to hand over this information. Thankfully, as I said, there's the appeals process, which gives you a review of your gross.
Okay, there's another theory, not only a legend, like knowledge gap. How has it helped with the knowledge gap between the ordinary citizens? since the access has come about?
I think it has allowed people to understand or get a better grip on what's happening in the public service. I don't think we use it as much as we should, we in media, generally speaking, because most times what we're looking for is information that is detrimental to government operations. The act can be used to help people to understand better how government works.
How often do you use the ATI Act?
It varies, but I would say at least twice per month.
Can you give me an example of how you have used it to unearth information?
So we routinely ask for things like environmental permits. So under the law, you need an environmental permit to do certain kinds of activities. So if you're building a road that's longer than a certain length, or you're having a bauxite mine, or you're doing a housing development over a certain size, you need an environmental permit, or you might need a license if you have a sewage plant, or you're doing something on the beach. We use the Access to Information Act to ask for those permits, and then they come to us, and we review them, and we can also check and see if the conditions of the permits are being enforced, are being adhered to by the people who have them.
As an environmentalist, what are the challenges in getting information from the government?
Well, I would say the Access to Information Act was passed in 2002, and in the initial stages there was great resistance to providing the information. I think the general feeling among government workers was that their responsibility was to not give information to the public. But over the years, if the state agency is used to getting access to information requests, they become much better at it. So I would say those agencies that we regularly make access to information requests to, like for example NEPA, they send the information. If a state agency is getting an access information request infrequently or for the first time, then they might take a long time to send them. In some cases they deny access, and then the question becomes whether we want to appeal that. There is an appeals process that you can go through or not.
How important is it for civilians to have access to information?
I think it's very important for the general public to use the Act to get information that affects them in their communities. So, I mean, I mostly work on environmental issues, but let's say now you are somebody who living close to the Riverton City dump, and there have been air quality tests done. You learn about that, but you have never got the results. You can use Access Information Act to get the results of the air quality. You can find out about the air that you're breathing. Or suppose you live close to a river and you see dead fish in the river one day. You can use Access to Information Act to ask for the water quality testing that is done. You can ask for if there are government meetings. So, for instance, suppose there are state boards that are, looking after. Let us say Riverton again. There's a National Solid Waste Management Authority. It's a state board. You could ask for the minutes of those meetings. So you can find out about things that affect you, affect your family, affect public health, affect development in your community. I think that is the main use. You cannot get everything under the Access Information Act. There are some exemptions, but apart from those exemptions, you have a legal right to this information.
When you think ATI, what comes to your mind?
Alcohol.
Party ATI talking about?
Party.
Party?
Some party thing.
When you think ATI Act, what comes to your mind?
Alcohol, drinking alcohol and then start act.
Nothing come to mind, ATI Act.
First time hearing about. No. Is that what?
Haven't the foggiest.
The acronym is Access to Information. Basically, ATI Act was implemented in 2003 by the Jamaican government, where citizens have the chance to access government information. Basically, it is saying to us, the citizens have a chance to ask the government what they want to ask them for anything. How important do you think that is for citizens?
Well, it is very important because I can see a lot of us need a lot of things to help us, and the government is who we turn to get that assistance.
It encourage freedom of speech and stuff like that because it empowers us to know about our things instead of just taking what the government give us.
We need to be aware, we need to be informed about the different things happening in the country. So, access to information is very important for the people.
There are things that are exempted from the act, like trading secrets between private and public sector, and some secret things we are going with in our defense force. I think them need to exempt that, or them need to make the people them know what are going on.
Yeah, they need to make the people know what are going on, but how much of us know what is really going on with the Bible?
True that, but our ATI Act we are talking.
Yeah, we are talking about the ATI Act, but there are a lot of things that we need to at least know what are going on, but we don't know what are going on, so we just leave it what we get.
And not everything needs to be out there, because not everything for just out that cause frenzy and panic and stuff like that if every secret out.
I think those would have to be exempted because I guess those are a matter of top secret.
Certain things have to be classified, has to be secret information depending on the quality of the information. So if it's like things pertaining to national security and how the country handles certain things, I think first it has to be up to the government whether or not they decide to divulge that information, because other countries can get access to the information, you understand? But if it's a case where it is directly impacting the people of Jamaica, where they are the ones who are going to be heard, the information should be open.
The Access to Information Act has extremely impacted both the influence and awareness of public knowledge as it is disseminated through media. There are two main theories we found that suited this: the agenda setting theory and the knowledge gap theory. The agenda setting theory doesn't necessarily tell us how to think, but what to think about. It tells us what to think by framing the information towards salient issues, thus shaping the way in which we process information given to us. Though Mr. Davidson wouldn't call it an agenda, it does fit the agenda setting theory. The information held or released shapes the opinion of the public. The Access to Information Act frames the idea of the audience through media. It does this by what they release to us and how much they tell us. The knowledge gap theory is treated as any other commodity which is not distributed equally throughout the society, where people in our higher social order has easier access to it. It is defined as the infusion of mass media information into a social system increases higher socioeconomic status segments tend to acquire this information faster than low socioeconomic status population segments. When a person receives more education, his communication skill increases and hence gathering information becomes easier for him. An example are media personals. They can investigate and disseminate information much quickly rather than the average person who has to decipher and collect this information. A person with more education has more social integration. This helps him to counter various perspectives and diverse stories, which makes his understanding of public issues better. We now come to the end of our program. We hope you were informed as well as you enjoyed it. Pleasant viewing.